I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The Hollywood Reporter asked some comedians where they get their best material. A lot of them said, around the world or their family, kind of boring. Some more interesting answers. Bert Kreischer said, in the morning when I'm hungover as F and on the tour bus with a bunch of comics halfway through an iced coffee. I find I write better in the morning myself. My legacy career is radio, broadcasting, audio, whatever this is now. I always put the podcast together in the morning. If I ever have to write a promo for broadcast radio, I do it in the morning. The other time I find the creative juices flowing are when I go out for a run. If you ask me to write copy late afternoon, just can't do it. So I'm with you, Bert. Hassan Minhaj said, in the shower, if I'm stuck on a joke or can't crack it, I'll take a hot shower. For some reason, it helps me unlock what I'm trying to do. It's great for jokes, but horrible for water bills. And the guys from Please Don't Destroy said, my dreams. So I think, but then I wake up and find a note on my phone that says, car that looks like a plane, or what if instead of mice in your apartment, you got birds? That reminds me of the Mitch Hedberg joke about koala infestations. The Hollywood Reporter had a lot of stuff with Trevor Noah during the week. Back in June, Trevor, who is leaving The Daily Show, had extended his contract for 2 more years. He said he'd once read with envy about Conan O'Brien's early days in late night when NBC had Conan on 13-week contracts. Trevor said, that sounds like a great deal to me. Trevor makes 8 figures a year at The Daily Show. It's a lot of money to walk away from. 8 figures. So even if that's $10 million, will he make that back touring? I guess he just wants the freedom. And at some point, how many $10 million salaries do you need? I don't know. A lot of money. Trevor said, I've just never found myself particularly enamored by the idea of a constant guaranteed income. Well, that answers that. And a thing I appreciated from the network side was they always said to me, you're here as long as you want to be. Implicit in that statement, says the Hollywood Reporter, was the notion that Comedy Central needed Trevor more than he needed the network. The linear audience, that means traditional broadcast, 400,000 nightly viewers. But his social footprint, coming up on 2 billion views across social for the year. The social footprint also younger and more diverse. But for Trevor, 7 years is a nice run. One of the people close to him says, at the end of his career, he's Trevor Noah, and yes, he's hosted The Daily Show, whereas if you host The Daily Show for 25 years, you're The Daily Show's Trevor Noah, which is not what he is or what we wanted him to be. His reps said it was important to film the Netflix special in a 20,000-seat arena to show that Trevor's achieved that status in the stand-up space, but they plan to have him back in smaller venues for more dates and lengthier stays in many of the cities he hits next year. Trevor says, pre-Daily Show, I used to live in a city before I'd do shows, and I miss knowing where my favorite restaurant in London is. I miss knowing my favorite sandwich shop in Frankfurt, Germany. I miss knowing a great bar to go to and watch a sports match in Bangalore. Plus, arenas don't give him energy the way theaters do. After The Daily Show wraps, Trevor's going to head to Qatar to watch the World Cup. Then it's back to South Africa to be with family and friends. The last time he was home was a year or so ago, and he misses the world there immensely. Heading forward, he's willing to be part of whatever the next incarnation of The Daily Show entails. Could be a producer, a consultant, a voice, or simply an enthusiastic viewer. He does not have a say in who replaces him. The Hollywood Reporter article says that many suspect the network will struggle to lure big names as it did 7 years ago when it tried and failed to snag Amy Schumer and Chris Rock as successors to Jon Stewart. The show will be back in January with a rotation of potential successors, including people like Roy Wood Jr., who's believed to be among the frontrunners. Roy Wood Jr. says he won't give it any thought until Trevor is gone. It's too overwhelming, and I don't want to have that on my mind. Trevor has sat down with all of the potential candidates and says he doesn't want any of them to come in and be surprised in the way he feels he was surprised 7 years ago. I wish someone had told me what a grind it is. You're also running the show, so everything from HR to designing the set you're part of, and it doesn't stop when you leave the building. There's no moment when breaking news happens where I go, oh, wow, I don't care. No, I have to care. Being informed is part of my job. Let me jump in there real quick. My career has always been broadcasting, and yeah, there are times you're just home on the weekend and your brain goes into breaking news mode, and I specifically remember I had been let go by Sirius, and I was home, and Robin Williams died. And a couple months earlier, that would have been, let's do a tribute, everybody. Let's go into the studio. Let's get live on the air. And it was weird for me. It was like, Robin Williams died and I'm home. I'll go on with my day. So I feel you, Trevor. Trevor regularly takes those how much you came up with the news style quizzes and Axios in the New York Times and admits he's devastated if he gets anything wrong. Some wisdom that Jon Stewart passed along many years ago. Jon said, try to leave before it drains you, before it makes you tired and angry. Trevor says, I remember going like, why would you get tired and angry? And Stewart said, it's different for everybody. Just know that you can leave whenever you want to leave. Your journey is your own. Rory Scovel is getting into more acting. He spoke to the Houston Press and said, yeah, stand-up was my way in. When I started, I was doing open mics for stand-up and taking improv classes. I was doing that for a while. Then naturally, I think if you stick with it, right place, right time kind of sitch, You get in front of some casting people, shooting commercials, or maybe you want to come and read for pilots, stuff like that. But it's been a slow trickle with the acting, and then strangely enough, when things started to shut down, I started to get some bigger stuff. I had stuff before that, but it was like I suddenly didn't have this other job I'd been doing for 15 years, so now I really have to hunker down and figure out how to be an actor. So yeah, it kind of got thrown at me, and I've come to realize I really, really love it. Rory enjoys comedy festivals. He says, to me, the main appeal of doing festivals, you get to hang out with some friends you haven't seen in a while, especially coming out of the pandemic. I think it's an entirely different energy as opposed to having your own show at an isolated date and time in a city, which is fine. But the festival makes it so much more of a bigger energy. It's kind of weird to say, but you feel like you're more of a team, like the difference between my show and this bigger thing. I see more friends from LA when I'm out on the road than I'll ever see them in LA. It's that sort of vibe. The Last Laugh caught up with Patton Oswalt recently. 2 topics, the recent elections and Elon Musk. As for the elections, Patton said, it's encouraging. I think it shows that a lot of people are not looking for thrills and insanity in place of admittedly dull but competent leadership. Hopefully, people are realizing that the government shouldn't be on your list of entertainment and distraction options. You've got video games, you've got streaming shows, you've got the internet. The government should be boring. The Last Laugh asked Patton how he's enjoying Twitter now that Elon Musk has taken over. Patton said, oh, it's fantastic. It's so good to see the N-word coming back. I mean, that's really the main focus of free speech, is to be able to spew as much racial bile as you possibly can. I mean, that's what the founding fathers were all about, although they were slave owners, so F them. This is such an age-old story. It's somebody who wants to be funny, and they're not funny, and everybody can be funny. Not everybody can be a rocket scientist or a business magnate. Elon is a rocket scientist and a business magnate. Those are pretty great things, but he demands to be seen as funny and cool. People are like, dude, he's rich. Well, I didn't say he was poor. I said he's not funny. Why don't you tell me one of his jokes that's brilliant and then prove me wrong? And they're just like, you're just jealous, man. That guy owns like 5 yachts. Again, I'm not saying he's poor. That wasn't my criticism of him. I said he's not funny. So I think there's a lot of damaged people out there who become billionaires because they just focus on numbers and money, and they can't understand why people aren't excited about that. Whereas I would rather be with somebody who's funny and is fun to be with rather than, well, this person I'm hanging out with never says anything startling or funny or insightful, but they do have the most money, so I guess I should hang with them. I've never understood that. He sees comedy the same way he sees money and status, whereas anybody who's into comedy knows that comedy and what's funny is constantly fluctuating, and we sign up to be part of a very ephemeral profession where everything we say ages immediately. But that's kind of the fun of it, is that you're always creating, especially to comedians, but he wants that mathematical equation where it's like, I will solve for funny and forever be the funniest one, and he doesn't understand. That's not how it works. Patton also talked about Elon Musk hosting SNL a year ago or so. He hosted SNL the same way these douchebag billionaires go hunting at a game preserve where they block off a little 1-acre area and then put the slowest, oldest lions in there. It was like a rich man hunting in a game preserve, but for comedy. And that's your comedy news for today. You can follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, audio-only version on YouTube. See you here tomorrow.